हाँ, हाँ, हाँ। उसी उसी को ही भेजना है वापस ना? हाँ, हाँ। हाँ, हाँ, हाँ। वही, हाँ। हाँ, बस उसको सेंड कर दीजिए। स्पीड पोस्ट कर दीजिए, नॉर्मल डाक से कर दीजिए। हाँ, एनटीपीसी कोरियर कर दीजिए। हाँ।
हेलो, काइंडली म्यूट करिएगा जो भी है। हाँ, okay. Yes, today I'm going to present on the topic agro-residues in biofuel production. Before going into biofuel, just I give a brief introduction on petroleum-based fuels. Um, in the throughout the world, most of the transportation and all the oil industries mainly depend on the petroleum oil, and almost more than 70% of the consumption is transport sector is consuming around 70%, more than 70%, and it is likely to increase during this 2070 to 80. And particularly India also importing the crude oil to meet its demand, almost more than 70% of its demand. Further, when we use the transportation fuels, particularly the petroleum fuels, it emits most of the greenhouse gases, particularly methane, carbon monoxide, and chlorofluorocarbons, which also create a problem of global warming, which is a great concern in the coming years. And these gases are predicted to rise approximately 43 billion metric tons by 2040. Further, the fluctuations in the crude oil, we can see in the graph that how the crude oil is getting fluctuated. During 2010, it was on the higher side, around 180, 160 to 180 dollar per barrel. But immediately during 2016, 17, or 18, it has fallen down to the $20 per barrel. Now, the almost for 1.5 years, it is on the increasing trend to $68 per barrel. So it is an unpredictable that how the crude oil prices will be there. Further, it is on the increasing trend because the fossil fuels will not be the renewed material, so continuous depletion will create a increase in the prices. Also, the global warming, which necessitated to look for the alternative fuel that can be addressed by the biofuel that is originated from biological resources. This table, it is too much, just I will brief you. Production and consumption of fossil fuel around the world, as well as the India, and the present blending, that is E5 means ethanol 5 means 5% blending, 10% blending. Throughout the world, United States and European Union, we can see that the global share and the oil consumption and global share in the oil production, it is almost at par with the United States and European Union. They are able to produce as much they consume it. But as far as India, it is consuming more, almost 5% global share in the consumption, but the production is only 1%. Also, 10 years ago itself, before itself, these countries, those developed countries, has started producing the biofuel so as to meet the transportation requirement, transportation demand in the coming years. We can see in the box given in the table, it is biofuel production. Particularly United States and Brazil and European Union, they have uh, come up with a good amount of biofuel production, but India is far behind from these countries, and the global share of biofuel is only 0.6% of the Indian share. So before going in detail, I just give a brief introduction. What is biofuel? Biofuel is any kind. It is a kind of energy fuels derived from the biomasses that can be cultivated and over the period of time. That will not get depleted in the period. Biofuel of three types. One is bioethanol, another is biodiesel, another is biogas. Bioethanol mostly produced from the fermentation of sugars and sugar crops, and the biodiesel is produced from vegetable oil and reused wax and fats. These will be transesterified into the biodiesel, and biogas particularly produced through anaerobic fermentation of biomasses through microorganisms. In biofuel, there are four different types of generations are there. First generation initially came during 2000 periods. That is mainly from sugarcane juice, sugarcane molasses, and soybean oil, that is biodiesel, and corn. These three four agricultural, uh, I can say it is a food grains. It is not on residue. It is a food grains were used for production of ethanol, uh, which was giving a problem of food and feed battle, because whatever the materials being produced for food grain was diverted for production of biofuel, which almost created the demand for food demand. Ultimately, it resulted in the price increase in the price of food grains. So they have switched over to the second generation biomass. They have think that we can use the biomass which is of not used for feed as well as food. So there comes the agro residues which are having no use, and particularly agro residues as well as the wood biomasses. These biomasses will be converted biochemically and thermochemically into the biofuels, particularly bioethanol and biodiesel. After that, it came a third generation. In third generation, no agro residues, no food grains will be used here. Particularly the microbial biomass. It is called as algae, macroalgae and microalgae. These two algae, what it does is that it produces the fat by using the light as well as the water. These reserved materials can be converted into bio oil, particularly the biodiesel. And then after seeing the potentiality of the third generation biofuels, the team has started working on the fourth generation, in which whatever the potential of the algae are there, that can be multiplied to the fourfold or fivefold by through genetic engineering, so that we can harvest high amount of energy, and we can fix high amount of carbon into the biomass. Ultimately, it will result in the high biomass yield. So these are the four different types of four different generations of biofuel. To the knowledge, I just must tell here that in throughout the world, still now the first generation biofuel is the successful one. I will tell you in the detail in later slides. And second generation biofuel, it is otherwise called as cellulosic ethanol. That is still in the pilot scale, and India is also in the way of promoting the cellulosic ethanol in the coming years. Here I have depicted the overall diagram, how the process takes place and what happens. The feedstock, particularly the agro residues, will be of lignocellulose. I will explain you later. Lignocellulose that will be converted into bioethanol and lipid, and that will be converted into alkane terpene, that will be blended with the fossil fuels. Here the emission is less. It doesn't mean that it will not pollute, as Dr. Sukla sir said that it is also create pollution. But the advantage is that whatever the carbon dioxide is being emitted to the atmosphere, that will be refixed through the plant biomass into the body itself. So whatever the carbon dioxide released, again it will be refixed. But in case of crude oil, whatever the carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide is released to the environment, there is a less chance that those carbon dioxide will be recycled back into the plant systems. That is the only difference. So we have seen that second generation biomass is having the boom. Just we'll have a look at into how much availability of crop residues in the world as well as in India. This picture depicts the availability in India itself. I have shown that in India, rice straw, wheat straw, and sugarcane bagasse. Fourth is cotton. These four agro residues almost ruling the major agro residues in the country. 33%, 20 and 55, and 60 to 70 to 80%, 70 to 80% of the total agro residues are originating from these four biomasses. Sorry, here the slide is yeah. So total crop residues in India, according to 2021 report, it is around 682 million tons of agro residues are being produced in the country, in which 178 million tons is surplus out of using the feed, other uses. These million tons of agro residues are surplus, which is equivalent to 51 billion liters of ethanol production. And maximum agro residues are being produced from rice straw, as I mentioned, 220 to 25 million tons, in which 43 million tons is surplus. And minimum is from castor, that is that is 4.6 million tons. So this picture depicts the availability of agro residues in different states. We can see that the total dry biomass available is mostly from Andhra, Telangana, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh, Bihar. These are all the major states which is having surplus amount of agro residues. And the right side pictures indicate the surplus biomass available. Again, it is that Hyderabad, Andhra, Telangana, Maharashtra, Gujarat, part of MP, Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh. These six states is having the surplus quantity of biomasses. If any plant to be established in the future, it would be much helpful to establish in those regions so that they will be able to get much amount of agro residues in and around the plant. Residue burning already has been discussed much. Agree that residue burning is not only polluting the air, as well as it is also depreciating the quality of the soil, because whatever the biomass ingredients are there, particularly carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, these are not coming from air except carbon. All the things, all the nutrients is been taken from the soil. If we burn this biomass there itself, all the nutrients will be taken away. Again, we have to feed the soils with those nutrients. Also, the volume of air pollutants, methane, nitric oxide, sulfuric oxides, all the pollutants will pollute the air quality, which we are witnessing nowadays. So lignocellulosic biomass, I already discussed. It is having of three components: lignin, cellulose, and hemicellulose. Cellulose and hemicellulose comprising around 70% of the total biomass of the plant. Suppose if you take 100 gram of biomass, 70 gram is cellulose. Cellulose is nothing but it is a complex chain, poly chain of sugar. If you break the chain into the sugars, that can be converted into biofuels. So here this table shows that how much composition of cellulose and hemicellulose are available. Here I have shown the agro residues and their bioethanol potential. We can see that rice straw, wheat straw, and sugarcane bagasse. If you suppose supply 1 kg of dry biomass, we can able to get around 0.5 liter of ethanol in the plants. Bioethanol production involves three steps. One is pre-treatment. Pre-treatment is a very important step because the biomass itself is made up of cellulose and lignin. Lignin is the one material which hinders the uh, uh, breakdown of sugars into simple sugars. So first we have to pre-treat so that lignin will be broken down. All the sugars will be converted into sugars. Further fermentation will be takes place to convert into ethanol. Once ethanol is made, distillation will be done to purify the ethanol. This is the process. Pre-treatment of the biomaterial and hydrolysis, fermentation will takes place, distillation and dehydration. The hydrolysis takes in two steps. One is acid. We can use mild dilute sulfuric acid for hydrolysis. Also we can use enzyme. Enzyme is preferred because of low energy consumption. Also the other inhibitory compounds will not be generated when we use the enzymes. These are different methods of bioethanol production because these three steps are common: pre-treatment, saccharification, otherwise called as hydrolysis, and fermentation. They have different combinations. They do pre-treatment alone and saccharification, fermentation together. So they can do it three at a time so that they will get higher yield of sugars. So this is bioethanol production status throughout in the world. As I mentioned the first slides, the USA, Brazil, and European Union, these three continents play the major role in the production of bioethanol. India is still in far behind from these countries. Next, biodiesel. Biodiesel, there are two different substrates are there. One, plants can be used for biodiesel production. What happens, the seeds which is having the oils that can be extracted, those oils will be refined. They will be mixed with the alcohol so that it will be esterified into biodiesel as well as the glycerol that can be used for the fuel. Another one is algae that I have mentioned, microalgae and macroalgae. What it does, by using sunlight and water, it will fix the carbon into the biomass, that is fat. That fat will be broken down, that will be taken into as oil that can be converted into glycerin as well biodiesel. Those biomasses which is available left over after extraction of oil, that can be used, that is made up of fully starch and protein, that can be used for other supplements. So leading countries for the biofuel production, biodiesel production, again it is the United States, Brazil, Indonesia, Germany. These are the four countries which is having higher production of biodiesels. Major companies and their commercial plans for biofuel production. As I mentioned, still the second generation, that is cellulosic ethanol, is still in a pilot plant, but somehow one or two plants in the US. Particularly, most of the plants are established in US because that was a leading producer in bioethanol. We can see most of the companies are focusing on bioethanol. One or two on biodiesels. They are animal fats, corn oil, and vegetable oils. Rice and wheat straw, this is for bioethanol. Only one or two cellulosic biomass, one or two firms which is focusing on second generation bioethanol. Third biofuel is biogas. As we already know that biogas, how they're being generated. It is on the anaerobic fermentation. The microbes will produce the methane gas. It is composed of 55 to 75% of methane gas, and carbon dioxide 30 to 45%. These biomethane can be used for as a used of fuel as gas grid and heat and electricity. And these digested can be used as a fertilizer or a soil improvement soil fertilizer. Leading biogas producing countries in 2014, I couldn't get the recent data, even though it is from 2021, but I couldn't get the data for recent. So even then, it is China is the first leading one, and followed by United States, Thailand, and India is the fourth one, which is producing biogas in a quite number of quite numbers. So in India, Maharashtra is the leading state which is producing higher quantity of biogas, and the least is Odisha in this. Oh, sorry, that figure is not there. So 2020 ethanol export, India is producing first generation ethanol, but it is not able to meet its own consumption, domestic consumption. Still India is importing ethanol, that is otherwise called as gasoline and fuel ethanol. Gasoline is used for industrial purposes, and fuel ethanol is used for transportation. To meet out the gasoline means industrial purposes, India even itself couldn't able to produce that much ethanol, first generation ethanol. Almost 14% of ethanol is being imported from US. So first years, Canada is importing 24%, 15% Brazil, and India 14% from US. Yeah, blending of ethanol with petrol, the bioethanol, finally the objective is that the ethanol to be blended with fuel, fossil fuel, so that the dependency on the fossil fuel to be reduced to the number of in the coming years. So major blending mandates in the countries such as US, China, and Brazil, they have the blending mandate of 15 to 27%. Also they have achieved also it. And Brazil, this is the only country which is blending the ethanol almost to the 100%. Most of them are 85% ethanol, and some in some places they are using 100% ethanol for the fuel. In Germany, E10 means 10% ethanol blending. They are doing it, and but in India, in condition to India, we have target in the 2010 for 5% blending, but we couldn't able to achieve in the complete way. Now the national policy on biofuels 2018 has come up, which is approved by the government, that envisages that indicative target of 20% blending of ethanol in the petrol and 5% blending of biodiesel in the diesel in the coming year 2030. For that, they have made some salient features, as I mentioned, 20% blending and 5% blending, and they will be categorizing basic fuels and advanced fuels. First generation will be called as basic biofuels, advanced will be second generation, third generation biofuels. Also, they are going to develop a national biomass repository for analyzing all the agro residues data. And setting up of National Biofuel Coordination Committee under Ministry of Petroleum, Natural Gas, and working group on biofuels will be developed. This is the Indian trends for gasoline as well as fuel ethanol status in India. India's production is not striking out over the period of 10 years. We could not see that India is producing higher quantity, but even though it is in the higher side, but it is not significant. But if you see that energy fuel consumption is keep on increasing, but we are not able to producing that much, hence that's why we are importing this ethanol. And here also we can see ethanol fuel consumption and gasoline consumption both are in the increasing trend. So it is an alarming situation that we should focus on production of bioethanol either in first generation or second generation. The potential cellulose ethanol production after implementation of 2018 policy, it is projected that almost 1.1% of Indian gasoline requirement will be met by the production of bioethanols. But there are issues in production of, sir, only two more slides, I will finish it. So when still there are issues in 2G ethanol production. One is that major companies, Indian Oil Corporation, Bharat Petroleum, Hindustan Petroleum, they are very reluctant to put a leg on second generation ethanol production because they feel that it is more expensive. It is true also, it is more expensive. We can see that setting up of one 2G plant, it will cost around 1000 crore, while 1G plant, that is directly from food grains into ethanol, that will cost around 100 to 200 crores. Ultimately they will go for the cheaper one. But India has to focus because if the sugar is converted into ethanol production, the problem is with the food grains. So we have to promote anyhow the cellulosic ethanol because we have surplus amount of agro residues in the country. So for that, Indian government is now trying to scale up the cellulosic ethanol by providing viability gap funding, which improves the financial returns of a given project. Further, Indian government has proposed a cap of 1.5 million rupees per project, a total of 12 projects at commercial scale. Here we can see I have taken three biomasses, major biomass as I discussed: rice straw, wheat straw, and sugar cane. This is the rate, average price per ton of biomass: 3,500 for rice straw and wheat straw, and 2,200 for sugarcane bagasse. If it is procured, it is having the ethanol yield as I mentioned, 0.38 to zero point 0.4 gram per gram. If it is taking kg, zero point 0.4 liter per kg of biomass, assuming that it is having 15% moisture and it is having 40% moisture. Will it be viable? Just we'll see that. These are the cost involved in installing the plant. Two generation ethanol plant. Capital cost around 876 crore. Capital cost, and fixed cost around 194, 200 if we imagine. These two together it cost around more than 1000 crores if we establish a cellulosic ethanol plant. And variable cost also coming around 100 crores. So because of this, most of them is neglecting or they are reluctant to enter into the second generation biofuels. Here, suppose if we install a plant of 36.5 million liters per year capacity plant that I have mentioned, 1100 crore, the fuel price, what would be the fuel price? So around it is 93 rupees per liter. If we install 70 million liter per year capacity, it is around 80 rupees per liter. So will it be economical? It is no, because India has fixed ethanol price in India. Even after importing the ethanol, it has fixed around 62.65. This is first generation bioethanol. So anyhow, we have to meet the first generation bioethanol price by using the cellulosic biomass. For this, government is taking the policy measures. It has to provide a per liter subsidy for cellulosic ethanol so as to meet the first generation bioethanol prices. Then only the firms can enter into the biomass second generation bioethanol production to earn a profit. And subsidy amount of 20 to 35 rupees has to be given per liter to meet the first generation, as I mentioned, through viability gap funding. If other we are not, if any firm is not getting the funding, we have to give the subsidy for them and increase the level and scale of viability funding program. And we have to provide low interest loans to the cellulosic ethanol producers and exempt any import tariffs on equipment or any other chemicals purchased from them. Finally, we have to provide the financial and technical support to scale up the collection of agriculture residues, because that is also a major hindrance to higher prices for agriculture residues and building necessary infrastructure. Thank you, sir. या सर, वेरी नाइस सर, ठीक है जी जी। अभी हमारे अग्रवाल साहब